Good evening. Tonight's Committee of Adjustment hearing is being held by video conference and live streaming video on the town's live stream webpage at oakville.ca. This is a hearing to consider applications for minor variance and consents held under the authority of the Planning Act. Please keep in mind that the intent of this process is to review the application that is before us, listen to the evidence, and then make a decision. This process is not intended to be used to resolve any concerns or disputes that may arise between the town, individuals, or organizations. If a request for a deferral is made and the committee grants such a request, the applicant or authorized agent must contact the Secretary Treasurer to schedule a new hearing date. In order to conduct an effective and efficient electronic hearing, we have adopted the following process. If you are watching the live stream of this hearing on oakville.ca and you wish to speak to an item on the agenda, you can call 905-815-6095. Again, the number is 905-815-6095. The phone number will also be posted at the live page screen. Staff will be standing by to take your call, and when you do call in, staff will ask for your name, item number that you wish to address, and your telephone number. Further instructions will be provided for you to call back to join the video conference. When the chair of the committee polls for interested parties, you'll have to press *6 to unmute yourself. The applicant or agent will be given the opportunity to briefly explain to the committee the basis of the application, answer any questions that may arise. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for a presentation. You will be asked to state your full name and address for the record. Any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. All delegations must also state their full name and address for the record. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for each presentation. All remarks and questions are to be directed to the chair. Any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. The applicant or agent will then be provided with a further 5 minutes to respond to any questions or comments made by interested parties. If the applicant or agent has any concerns found in staff report, particularly any proposed condition, this will be the opportunity to advise us. The matter will then be taken into committee for a decision, and this will mark the end of all discussions. Any person desiring a notice of decision for an application must provide a written request, preferably through email, to the Secretary Treasurer. Written notice of the committee's decision will be mailed no later than 10 days for minor variance and 15 days for consent applications to the applicant and any other person who has filed a written request for such notice. The last date to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal will be noted on the decision. Only the applicant and specified persons or public bodies may be able to appeal to the committee's decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Please note that in November of 2022, Bill 23 legislation, the More Homes Built Faster Act, amended the Planning Act to remove appeal rights for members of the public. If no appeal is received within the prescribed timeframe, the decision of the committee becomes final and binding. The Secretary Treasurer will then be notified, the applicant, anyone who has received a copy of the decision through written correspondence. People participating in this hearing are to be courteous of and all members of the committee, town staff, and other people participating in this electronic hearing. Tonight's electronic hearing will be video recorded and available for future viewing at oakville.ca. Thank you. No regrets this evening? Any declarations of peculiar interests? Go ahead, Mr. Talowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, for A035 at 309 Balsam, I'm going to maintain the conflict that I declared when this property was previously before the committee.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Talowski. Any other declarations? I see none. Okay, Madam Secretary Treasurer, all those who've asked for deferral, withdrawals of applications, anyone in the audience who seeks to withdraw or defer an application to further discuss this with town staff, please raise your hand and the Secretary Treasurer will invite you in to speak.
Madam Chair, yes, I'm showing 3 hands. The first
Right.
is Pamir Rafiq.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm just here to request a deferral. I'm the owner, I'm the architectural designer and planner for my client, who's the owner of 569 Lease Lane. And we received comments from planning staff in which there was no recommendation for approval. So we'd like to take this opportunity and ask for a deferral to revise the drawings to come towards the planning staff and see if you can come to an agreement with the revised drawing and resubmit.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Rafiq. Anyone interested in this application? Application 034 of 2026, 569 Lees Lane. This application is requesting a deferral. Members, all those who are in support of a deferral? Okay. The application has been deferred. You'll see the Secretary Treasurer at your earliest convenience. And once again, anyone interested in this application will get another notice when the application does come before the committee. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
We have another hand up, Madam Chair. Mr. Curtis Van Keulen.
Okay.
Evening, fellow committee members.
Good evening.
I'm representing file number 40A40-2026 at 1358 Sedgwick Crescent. I'd like to request a deferral to work with town staff, revise our proposal, and come back to you at a later date.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Van Keulen. All the members, all those in support of a deferral? Okay, the application has been deferred, none opposed. Anyone interested in application 040 of 2026 at 1358 Sedgwick Crescent will be notified when the application does come before the committee.
Thank you.
Ms. Price?
I just wanted to note that there's the sign hasn't been posted, or it was posted, but it's not there anymore.
Okay. Well, Mr. Van Keulen, you'll let your client know so that they don't lose the opportunity to come before the committee the next time that this does appear before us.
Yes, I suspect it was the wind the other day. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Secretary Treasurer, anyone else?
Yes, we have one more hand. Saba Al-Mathno. One moment.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Saba Matno. I'm representing file A042-2026, 193 Walder Drive, and we are before you to ask for deferral to give us time to address comments that we received from planning.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Martino. All those in support of a deferral? Okay, the application has been deferred. You'll see the Secretary Treasurer at your earliest convenience. And anyone interested in application 042 of 2026 at 193 Wilder Drive, you will be receiving further notice when the application does come before the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, is that all, Madam Secretary Treasurer. We have no one else waiting.
That's right. No more hands showing. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have no consent applications. The first item on our agenda this evening is application 002 of 2026, deferred from January the 21st at 246 Jones Street. I have Mr. Ted Loxton here as showing as the agent.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Loxton. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So my name's Harrison Ted Loxton with Bayview Design Group, and I'm here on behalf of Mr. Anand regarding the property at 246 Jones in Oakville. So I've reviewed staff report and would just like to bring up a few, or I guess highlight a few points here. As noted, this application was deferred from the January 21st meeting to allow me to meet with planning staff and submit a revised application that would be acceptable to staff, my client, myself. So the slide on the screen currently is a rendering of the proposed dwelling to be built. And if we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is a Google Street View image of the property showing the proposed lot. With, you see the tree hoarding in place, that's the subject property, as well as the neighboring dwellings on each side. So as illustrated here, the neighboring homes are relatively large in scale. And so the proposed dwelling would be more consistent with those homes instead of the fairly small home that's currently on 246 Jones. However, the massing wasn't the basis for staff's previous recommendation for refusal. And if we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so here's, we can see the original ask on the left and the revised on the right. And the notable changes, the first one being the banding that extends it extends across the front face of the dwelling now to separate the large, which I had as basically a 2-story window. And the second was to separate the one large garage door into 2 smaller garage doors. So these changes were done at the request of town staff, who are now in support of this proposal. And if we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the variance ask didn't change, as we'll see on the next slide, with the exception of a typo that I had. And if we can go to the next slide. So here are the site stats, with the lot coverage being at 39.8%, where 35% maximum is permitted. And the RFA to lot ratio of 43.55, where 41% is permitted. And both of these, we tried keeping it, as close to allowable as possible. So we do have some minor increases. And beyond that, I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration of our application, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Loxton? Okay. Has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
We've had no calls and no hands.
Very well, then I'll take a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having undertaken my site visit, having reviewed the materials, including the written staff report, and having heard Mr. Loxton's presentation, I'm prepared to put forward a motion to approve the requested variances, finding that they conform to the 4 tests of the Act. The motion would be subject to the 2 standard conditions that are noted within the staff report, namely being that the dwelling be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan dated February 4th, 2026, and elevation drawings dated February 5th, 2026, and that the approval will expire within 2 years of the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Very well, the application has been approved, none opposed.
Thanks very much.
Have a good evening.
You too, thanks.
Application 032 of 2026 at 357 Seaton Drive. Again, that's application 032 of 2026 at 357 Seaton Drive. I have Mr. Richard Kozak as the agent. Mr. Kozak, are you with us? I see you, I just can't hear you or see you.
Sorry. Good evening, Madam Chairman and members of the committee.
Good evening.
Sorry, gotta put that on.
Go ahead.
I'm Richard Kosak, the agent of the owners for at 357 Seaton Drive. Today we have two variances. There is a slide presentation as well. It's on screen. So that's the infill two-story single-family home. The two variances we have are, the first variance is the garage floor area. If you went to slide 4, we can see the garage from plan view. So the excess floor area for the garage, it's 62.28 square meters, where 45 square meters is the maximum. You can see it's a tandem garage, so the street facing is still 2 garage doors, and the excess garage space is in tandem with one of the bays. The second variance we have is for lot coverage of 27.96%, where 25% is the max in our case. That includes the covered rear veranda, the covered front veranda, and the entire footprint of the home, including the garage. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Kozak. Any questions of Mr. Kozak from the committee members at this time? I see none. Has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
We've had no calls and no hands.
Very well. And there's no interest from the public. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Ms. Price. Ms. Price, you're muted.
Taking into account my site visit, the reports from the agent and staff, and there being no letters of opposition, I believe the revised application to be minor in nature and is in keeping within general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and is desirable for the appropriate development of the land. The proposed development also maintains and protects the character of the existing neighborhood and does not present unacceptable adverse impacts. As mentioned by the staff, the lower roof lines and step backs help to break up the massing and scale of the proposed dwelling. Having a tandem parking configuration allows for the additional indoor parking without having adversely affecting the character of the neighborhood. In conclusion, I believe the 4 tests have been met, and I recommend the application be approved subject to the following conditions. That the dwelling be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan dated February 2nd, 2026, and elevation drawings be submitted with the application. That the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the committee.
Have a good evening.
Good evening.
Application 33 of 2026 at 1410 Devon Road. Again, it's application 033 of 2026 at 1410 Devon Road. I have Mr. Van Kulen as the agent.
Again, Madam Chair, fellow committee members, my name is Curtis Van Kulen, the agent for A33 2026. We're here tonight for 3 variances. The first is a RFA variance. If staff would go to page 10 of the submitted document. Just referencing a diagram of the front elevation when staff is able to bring it up. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Our attempt on the design was to set back the second floor of the dwelling. You'll see a large step back over top of the garage, over top of the entry feature, which has also been split up into 2 portions to accentuate more of a divide at the single story and break up the massing of the front entrance. Also, an attempt to reduce the massing was also made for the living room off to the left-hand side of the front entrance feature. That living room ceiling has also been reduced and pushed down, and the roof massing on top of the second floor has been cut in above that. We believe that these combined effects on the front facade really buffer the massing of the home to the neighboring properties. Slightly down on the same page, you can see a side elevation, which gives you an idea of the height of the roof over top of the family room. The family room at the back of the house has also been reduced to the same height. There's another illustration on the second page to that also shows the setbacks to the front elevation. So overall, the setting back of the second floor and the lowering of the 1.5 story ceilings really reduce the overall impact of the mass, thus allowing for the RFA increase. Our second variance is the lot coverage. We're going for a minor lot coverage variance on this simply because of the single story rear yard covered porch. It is positioned in the middle of the proposed structure, and it separates that extension off of the rear of the structure from the neighboring, and it would not impact the neighboring properties whatsoever. The third variance is a garage size variance. We're asking for a very minor amount, 1.5 square meters over. It's mainly just to allow for a bit of storage space around the vehicles on the sides and the rear of the garage. With that, we believe these 3 variances meet the 4 tests, and I turn it back to you for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from committee members? Okay, I see none. Has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
We've had no calls and showing no hands.
Okay.
Sorry.
Who would like to move a motion?
We do have a hand up. I'm sorry.
Oh, is that Mr. Dickey?
No, we have, there's a Rosemary Van Strallen.
Okay.
Oh, Madam Chair, my apologies. I can wait until the public has a chance to speak.
Mr. Dickey, did you have your hand up?
Well, just to make the motion. I thought you'd
Oh,
asked for the motion. Sorry.
yeah, I wasn't aware that someone had their hand up. Okay, Madam Secretary Treasurer, if there's someone who's showed interest in this application, please invite them in to speak.
Will do. Thank you.
Hi, I'm not a formal, or Madam Chair, I'm not familiar with this whole process. I was just a next door neighbor, so I'm at 1402 Devon. So questions that I had is that the driveways moved to the opposite side of the existing structure. And is that typical? And I guess how many feet is that new garage in proximity to the 1402 property?
Okay, we can certainly get you those answers.
The last question I had too is trees. There's probably 3 or 4 very large trees. What will be the impact of those in the backyard?
Okay. Mr. Van Kulen, go ahead.
Yeah, so if staff wants to bring up the proposed site plan, I can certainly answer those questions. It would be page 2 of the submitted documents. So if you'd be able to zoom in just slightly, we would be able to show the garage. The proposed garage is slightly closer to 1402. However, it's within the setbacks of the zoning bylaw. So we are 1.2 meters on that side of the home from the property line, so 4 feet from the property line. Whereas currently we're just slightly over 2 meters right now. So it's going from about 2 and a little bit, I think it's 2.3. It's covering to 1.2 meters on that side. Again, within the legal zoning bylaw setback requirements. There are 3 trees that look like will need to be removed. One of them will be one of the larger ones. It's within the buildable footprint of both the zoning bylaw allowed buildable footprint as well as the buildable footprint that we're proposing. You can see that roughly on the right-hand side, just behind where the garage would be or where the driveway would be, the larger tree there. We are making sure that the front tree in the front yard is to be retained, and will remain. There's a very small tree in front of the existing home that will be removed. I think it's noted actually as a shrub when I look closer. So we are proposing a sort of a circular driveway that will go around one of the large trees. So there will be a second entrance added to this property. So the trees, the setback, I believe that was the main question, if I do recall.
Yeah, and the driveway is typical. I think that's probably why you designed it this way, so that you can save that tree.
Correct. Yes, making every attempt to save the large tree in the front. As many trees as we can save, we always try. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Van Kulen. All right. Anyone else had their hand raised or was interested to ask questions?
I'm not showing any more hands. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We'll take a motion. Mr. Mr. Dickey, I'm gonna let Mr. Talowski take this one because we're gonna lose him on the next one because of his conflict. Go ahead, Mr. Talowski.
Thank you for that consideration, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm pleased to move this application be approved as applied for, finding that it meets the test of the Planning Act. I believe the design of this house will mitigate any potential impacts that may have occurred. I would note that there was a neighbor with questions, which I believe the applicant has addressed. Madam Chair, I would make that approval subject to two conditions: that the dwelling be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan dated January 22nd, 2025, and the elevation drawings dated January 22nd, 2025, and that the approval expire within 2 years if the building permit has not been issued.
Thank you, Mr. Talowski. Is there a recommendation on the discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Have a good evening. Okay, so we are taking application 035 of 2025 at 30 Balsam Drive. Again, that's application 035 of 2025 at 309 Balsam Drive. I have Mr. Demchek here as the agent.
Madam Chair, there was a typo on our information for tonight that this is A035 of 2026.
Oh, okay, sorry. All right, this is again 035 of 2026. Nonetheless, it's still 309 Balsam Drive. And we have battery planning. I don't know, is Mr. Demchek with us? Go ahead, Mr. Demchek.
Sorry about that. I was just stuck in the waiting room for a brief moment. Yes, thank you, staff, for pulling up the presentation. So we could jump into it. My name is Paul Demchek with Vittori Planning and Management. I'm here on behalf of the applicant and owner for 309 Balsam Drive. If I could take you to the next slide. This is just obviously a current aerial photo. I'll just briefly note, for the benefit of the committee and the public, properties on the east side of Balsam Drive, as you can see just from the lot fabric, are significantly larger, obviously, than the properties on the west side of Balsam Drive. And there's a few nuances specific to this property in formulating some of the decision-making we had and the location of the proposed porte cochere, which is being asked for this evening. If I could take you to the next slide, please. This is just actually current aerial and drone photographs that were taken just about a week ago from the subject property, and this is what it looks like in its current state. I'll note you can see the property to the, if you look at the image on the top left, on the left of that image, you can see the adjacent house. It's a little unique in this instance, as there's a legal non-conforming condition in this case, and I'll bring it up briefly in another moment, but there's actually a garage, an existing detached garage that's in the front of that dwelling at 319 Balsam Drive, and you can see the dwelling at the rear of the property in that case. If I could take you to the next slide, please. And so what's being asked for is no changes, obviously, in terms of what was previously approved to the existing dwelling. That's obviously currently under construction, and the footprint of that existing dwelling is shown here. For the benefit of the committee, that application was approved in July of 2023 at the time by the Ontario Land Tribunal. And at the time, there was a number of variances, and one of the variances I'll particularly call out is 3 garages that were approved as part of that OLT decision. You can see, I'll start maybe on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the one single-car garage that's located on the bottom right of the dwelling, on the right-hand side of this image. That garage door is the only one I would suggest that is visible from the streetscape perspective. Garage 2 is located on the left-hand side. I'll call it the left wing of the entrance of the dwelling. And that's a side entrance garage. And then the third technical garage is actually the porte cochere, which is right at the front of the property where the circular drive is shown. And so what's before the committee this evening is what's highlighted in yellow, being an additional porte cochere or carport, as it's noted in the staff report, which is proposed for 2 variances, which is a reduction to the side yard setback, as well as the number of garages in this instance. I'll note that this garage, if I could take you to the next slide. These are just some front and rear elevations. In this case, you can see it's an open air porte cochere or carport, which is on the front elevation. You can see it on the left-hand side. So there's obviously 2 main, I'll call it posts. Again, it's an open air porte cochere. It has 47 square meters in total area and a height of 5.21 meters, which is less than half of the height of the total main height or maximum height, sorry, of the dwelling. So it's intended to be minor in obviously overall scale and not have any massive impacts by it, obviously not being entirely enclosed. If I could take you to the next slide. Just as it relates to that garage, obviously, as I mentioned, where it's located on the dwelling, it's actually roughly 8 meters behind the front-facing wall of the dwelling. It's obviously located in the side yard condition where there's significant setbacks from the main dwelling to that side property line, in this case of over 7 meters. And so obviously it's only the portion of the proposed carport that obviously is seeking the reduction in the side yard setback. And where it's located obviously interfaces with that existing 2-story garage to the north and not the existing dwelling to the north. If I could take the next slide, please. This is just a rendering that was prepared to help visualize this a little bit better. There's obviously significant intended planting on both properties that are being shown. And you can see just the scale of how it relates in comparison to that neighboring garage to the north. Next slide, please. That summarized my presentation. I will also note there was a letter of support from that neighbor to the north at 319 Balsam Drive in support of the application. That summarizes my presentation. Before the committee, should there be any questions? Thank you very much.
Any questions of Mr. Demchak at this time or items of clarification? Mr. Dickey, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm usually pretty fussy about setbacks. So that's my major concern. I wouldn't, the fact that it's a fourth garage in a sense isn't the question here. You've got a zoning bylaw setback of 4.2 meters and you want to only have a lousy 1.5 meter setback. You've got a property, frontage is probably, the frontage is 47 meters. So it's way over 100 feet worth of width, but you're still infringing on the side yard setback. Like you designed your house, you built that house, and that was fine. I know you had to go to the OMB to get that house built, and now you've come back, and that doesn't really matter. That's whatever happened before, that's approved, that's fine. But now you're coming back, and you're taking your setback on that north side and just taking it as if it was a 40-foot wide lot, which has 1.2 meter setbacks, for lots of that size. But you're on this huge lot with a substantial width of facade facing the street. So I try to convince me. From what I see the plans, I'm not convinced. So I'm giving you the opportunity to convince me. Tell me something that's going to help me accept this.
Thank you, Member Dickey. Through you, Madam Chair, to Member Dickey. I hear you and your comments about concerns about reduction side yard. I've obviously been on these committee agendas on a number of occasions, and I've heard that specific concern. When I And when myself and my client, we looked at this application for this potential minor addition, there's a number of factors that obviously we did consider. And so number one is obviously the distance. Like this is, I would suggest, a unique lot in a unique condition. If I could ask actually staff to pull up the site plan one more time, please, just for my presentation. Thank you. So a few different components. The first one is the distance from Balsam Drive to that proposed carport is approximately 41 meters from the front yard, which is obviously a significant setback, number one. Number two, the distance from where that proposed carport is located to that front building wall is an additional 8 meters of a setback. And then further, this is the main comment that I wanted to flag for the committee, is that the unique condition of the neighboring property, which has that existing 2-story detached garage that's located in the front yard, that's obviously a legal non-conforming condition. It's, I'd say, quite unique, both within the town context, but specifically along Balsam Drive. And so when we looked at this application, obviously the majority of the dwelling not only complies with the side yard setback, but in this instance, on this side of the dwelling where you have that side, I'll call it garage condition, you have just over a 7-meter separation distance from the building to that north property line. And so this would, from my perspective, be an appropriate location to locate the potential carport and any side yard reduction to allocate for that. The additional component I'll note is in many cases where you're seeking a reduction in side yard setbacks, perhaps it is for actually a portion of the dwelling that might have like a massing or overlook impact. In this case, it's an open air structure. There's no enclosed walls on that portion. And so I would suggest before the committee that there would be no massing impact. And I think the committee should consider obviously the uniqueness of that specific feature. I hope that helps partially answer some of the questions and concerns to the member.
Thank you, Mr. Demchik. Anything further, Mr. Dickey?
Just, I'm not convinced. I'm not comfortable with this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I see none. Okay, I do note there's one letter of support, but has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
We've had no calls and no hands showing.
Okay, very well. So if there are no further comments and questions, who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Based upon my review of the owner's application, the site plans and the building elevations, together with my site visit, I feel that this is not it's my opinion that the 1.5 meter side yard setback does not maintain or protect the neighborhood character. And I feel that the neighborhood has large lots with ample setback to allow separation between houses. And I do not figure, in my opinion, this is not minor. It's not appropriate or desirable for this neighborhood. So I put forth a motion to deny the application.
Okay. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I share Mr. Dickey's concerns with respect to this. This is a significant parcel along Balsam, and it is a significantly large building that has significant variances that were approved previously. This is contributing additionally to the size of the massing and ultimately the overdevelopment of the site. I'll support the motion that's on the floor.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. Okay, so the motion is to deny. All those in support? Okay. I don't see your hand, Ms. Price. Is it up or down? I just saw a shadow. That's all I saw. Can you unmute yourself, please?
I think it should go through.
Oh, okay. So you're okay. So you're not voting to deny.
Yeah.
Okay. So all those in support of the denial? Okay. All those opposed? Ms. Price, thank you. The application has been denied. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. We have application 038 of 2020. Hold on one second. I want to get those dates right.
Madam Chair, it's a 2026 file.
As well, yeah,
Yes,
okay.
thank you.
2024, sorry. Okay, application 038 of 2026 at 52 Chartwell Road. Good evening, Mr.
Good evening,
Cronus.
good evening, Madam Chair, member of the committee. It's a pleasure to be before you today. For the record, my name is Paul Cronus. I'm here on behalf of the owner of 52 Chartwell. Our mailing address is 1320 Cornwall Road, Suite 201. That's in Oakville, L6J7W5. I have a presentation. I can go through it very quickly. I can give you the highlights. We've made a substantial planning justification that was filed in support of the 4 variances before you today. You also have, I'm sure, read the staff report that is full support of the variances. So what you have in front of you is just a street perspective of what's proposed. There's a minor addition in the front and a minor addition in the back. This is what we call an additional residential units. And I know the committee had exposure to the first such application at its last meeting for property at, I forget the address. But you had at 2026 Breton Close. I took the opportunity to listen to the tape a few times. I think you have an understanding of the regulations and the changes that were made. I'd be happy to overview again for you. But I'd like to just jump into the variances and give you the justification, sort of the summary of what we've supplied so far. If you can go to the second page. So the property is at the northwest corner of Carson Lane and Chartwell. You may recall this property in 2023. The staff report summarizes that we had a consent application that was approved with a concurrent minor variance to recognize Chartwell Road as a frontage for the purpose of the bylaw. That application was abandoned, and we did not pursue to create 2 lots. The client had a change in plans and pursued at that time the ARUs were coming forward, and rather than have 6 ARUs on 2 lots, he decided to have 2 ARUs plus the principal dwelling on the single lot to provide for a more contemporary build form and footage and size of units. If you go to the next page. What you see here in faint green is the outline of the existing building. Substantially, that's going to be maintained. There's an addition that you see in crosshatch in the front and one in the north side. And so the setbacks, the gross floor area, the coverage, and all those matters have complied fully with zoning. What we have, if you go to the next page, Here, I just provided the summary, but you've seen the plans already. It shows compliance with all the aspects even except 4 areas, and it shows you the unit size composition. Unit 1 being roughly 3,000 square feet, Unit 2 being roughly 28, and Unit 3 being roughly 2,000 square feet. So they're substantial size units, contemporary in nature, and provide all the amenities that are required for ARUs. And by the way, they are separately serviced. As you heard at the last meeting, that's a requirement. Next slide. So these are the variances. The first one that I marked with the green arrow is for the private garages. Right now, there's one garage, but because we need to provide separate allocated spaces for the units, we are dividing, partitioning the internal of the garage. So there'll be no changes on the outside other than it'll have continue to have 2 garage doors. So someone from the street won't be able to see it's a 2-car garage, but it's required, and it's required because electric vehicles as well. They're going to be charging stations, and sometimes they do tend to cause some risks. So you want to fully enclose these because a lot of people nowadays have electric vehicles, and they're going to be provided with the tier 2 charging system. The second variance is a driveway width. The second and the third variants are, in fact, that I marked in red. They're existing situations. There's a driveway off Chartwell that's existing. There's a driveway off Carson Lake that's existing. And the way that the bylaw is measured is a combination of both. And the combination of both drives the variance up to 28.1 meters versus the 9 meters. These are the existing situations that have existed prior to the new bylaw coming into effect. Same thing with variance number 3, which is a setback from the intersection of Carson Lane and Chartwell. Again, that's an existing condition, has been there for years, and there's been no issue with these are very minor streets where speed limits are quite in the 40-kilometer range. So there's been no conflicts for years. I don't know of any incidences. The last variance is a height, and this is to provide for a height that's compatible with the properties to the north. And I think if you've reviewed the staff report, there's a perspective, but there is one that I can take you to. If you jump forward to page 16, 17, and 18. So I've taken one at an oblique angle, one facing there's the one that's sort of an oblique, and you can see the roof line and the treatment of the facade matches the property to the north. So as one progresses down Chartwell, there is no visual intrusion of the building. There is no visual impact on the height. It matches the exact same height as the property to the north, which was approved by a minor variance by the Committee of Adjustment some years ago. And then the other one is slightly looking from the north in a different angle. If you back up to slide 15, what I've included there is, so we've had multiple pre-consultation meetings with staff, Mr. Brandon Hassan and Kay Coburn, 3 or 4 of them, I believe. And we've collectively, I believe, come to a proposal that obviously meets the housing intensification purpose of the province and provides for a build form that's compatible, contemporary, and complementary to the street. One improvement that we've recommended is the area that you see in purple, which are the parking pads. So we're proposing that they be treated with a certain permeable pavement, like what's expressed on the right of that chart. And there's a condition to that effect that we fully accept that treatment. There is landscaping shrubs in front, so these parking pads are not visually intrusive. And there's other driveways along Chartwell that have same type of treatment. I have in the slides provided the zoning and the official plan, which is low density residential, and it's the RL3-0 zoning. I've also, if need to, I can get into the Ontario Regulation 299-19, which you heard of extensively on the ARUs, and also the the other regulation, which was enacted almost a year later, that provides for a 10% reduction in the setbacks, which again staff have reported in their memorandum. I just want to make one correction on 29919, which is the ARU. I believe, and I've read it again, there's a suggestion that it's a minimum of 45% lot coverage. In fact, it's up to 45% coverage. It's not a minimum. It's a maximum of up to. So I just wanted to note that clarification. Otherwise, this proposal, I believe, meets all the four tests of the Planning Act. It conforms to all the policies in the official plan and meets the provincial intent and interest in moving forward with housing opportunities. The increase in height is minor in nature, and from the streetscape and from the perspective that I show you, it's compatible, and it does not in any way detract away from the otherwise stable residential character of the area. There's no issue with privacy or shadow impacts. The addition are very minor in nature and represent an appropriate form of development for the property and the community. I'd be pleased to answer any questions. I just rambled through so I don't burn up more than 5 minutes of your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cronus. Any questions or items of clarification of Mr. Cronus at this time? I can't see anything. Just give me a second. I have to go back into grid view. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Mr. Cronus.
Good evening, Mr. Hardcastle.
And thank you for your presentation. I was looking for a little bit more detail around the building height piece. I'll be frank right up front. I have some significant reservations about the building height piece. And I'm trying to understand in a little bit more detail about the why. I mean, I basically have a rationale from staff that says because the guys next door have it.
No,
I'm kind of looking for a little bit more to understand. It's a pretty significant increase in it, and we're talking about a fairly substantial building with additional GFA on it, tacking on another 1.4 meters onto that. It's pretty significant, and it's gonna change things a fair bit. So I'm looking for a little bit of understanding there, sir.
Yes. Okay. So it's to actually provide for a roof height to accommodate construction and a little bit more usable interior space. It's also we looked at it from the perspective of as you're coming down Chartwell, does the height have a visual intrusion on the existing streetscape? And from the perspectives that we showed, we didn't feel that it does. The articulation in the facade as well in the front contributes to a uniform landscape. So as you're approaching going southward, to have a height deviation kind of at a corner lot, which obviously has more prominence than an interior lot, looked a little bit awkward. So not that because the neighbor to the north has it, not that because we wanted to match it, but because of functionality and construction of putting together the new roof structure, that extra height accommodates that. Now, we feel that it's compatible design with the neighbor as the perspective shows. And if you look again at the rationale that we provided in the cover letter as well as planning staff, we feel that we've obtained that level of confidence, and hopefully you agree, that the height increase does not in any way is not detrimental to the neighborhood, and it doesn't otherwise compromise shadow impacts or visual intrusion or privacy. It's we feel that it accommodates all the interest in the design guidelines of the town and is consistent and uniform in nature. And as the member said earlier, it's desirable, I believe, to have a deviation in the height of about 1.39 meters, 1.29 meters. It will probably show, and it will dwarf the building. So this is a uniform way of addressing the streetscape. That's where we were coming from. It wasn't driven by the fact the neighbor to the north had it. I mean, it obviously is one contributing factor, but not the sole purpose.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Hardcastle almost took some words right out of my mouth. I'm concerned about the height. So my question is, what is happening on the second floor that you need to increase? Oh, no, I'm sorry. My first question is, what is the existing height?
It would be 9 meters, sir.
Okay, so what is happening on the second floor that requires you to have that you need to have another 1.39 meters of height to satisfy your desires, needs.
Well, the floor to ceiling heights are higher because that's the more contemporary way of presenting units. That's driving it. Plus, it's a new roof structure that requires a little bit of on-site construction and flexibility, as well as provides for, like I said, a higher floor to ceiling height. Not substantially more, but we're now talking 10 to 11 feet. Trying to see if I can find a plan while we're having this discussion. Sorry, I didn't. Right, it's a 9 foot. It's almost an 11-foot height with the new finished second floor is approximately 23 feet in height, and the roof structure above that is about 8 feet. So it provides for slightly higher roof heights than the normal 9 feet. So we're approaching 11 feet.
On the second floor, you currently have a 9-foot ceiling height.
Correct.
And you want to have an 11-foot ceiling height on the second floor.
Well, it's actually 9 feet 10 inches. I misspoke. It's approaching 10 feet on the second floor, and it's 12 feet on the main floor.
And that's existing. You're not changing the main floor.
No. The existing is roughly about 9. This house was built about 22 years ago. And it probably, I don't have the stats for the existing. I am guessing it's between 9 and 10 feet. So I apologize, I don't have those stats.
I'm a little bit confused. You're not tearing the house down, right? You're taking the existing house and, say, renovating it, correct?
Correct, but we do have to modify the roof structure.
Oh, no. I just was a little bit surprised that your ground floor height. Tell it again. Your ground floor height is existing ground floor height that you're not changing is what height?
I believe, sir, it's in the neighborhood of 9 to 10 feet. I don't have that stat, but
and in your second floor, your existing height is more than 9 feet.
Right, 9. Well, so I cannot tell you what the existing heights are, but you're right. We're not changing the building itself. We're keeping the shell, but there are interior renovations. What we're proposing is a 12-foot floor to ceiling height on the main floor, and then 9 foot 10.5 inches, roughly 10 feet on the second floor, with a roof of about 8 feet. So that's what's driving it in the manner that we're proposing.
So you're ripping out the floor between the ceiling of the ground floor and the floor of the second floor to lift it higher, and then you're going to put a new roof on to make up for that?
Again, sir, I'm not 100% sure on the existing. I'm assuming they're as represented, but we are putting on a new roof. I'm assuming the floors are as we show them on the plans. You're right. We're not ripping out the floor between the first and second. So we have an 11-foot. Let me just go back to my plans. We have a 12-foot first floor and a 9-foot 10, and I think you're correct. We're keeping those, but we're building a new roof structure that drives it to the 10.39 meter height.
Okay. Now, the existing house, you're thinking, and I'm not holding you to the numbers. Don't get me wrong here.
No,
the existing house you're thinking is 12 feet floor to ceiling height on the ground floor, 9 foot 10 inches floor to ceiling height on the second floor. You're going to keep the 12 feet on the first floor, and then bump up the second floor to what height? Floor to ceiling height.
9 feet 10.5 inches, roughly 11 feet.
That's what it is. What are you going to move? What's it going to become?
No, that's what it is. That's what it's going to stay there, and then plus the new roof.
Okay. So now you got me really confused. So if you're not changing the 9 foot 10-inch height, ceiling height on the second floor. What are you doing up above that you need another 1.39 meters? I'm
Okay, so
building an attic. You're having people live up there. What's going on there?
yeah, so according to the plans, and this is I'm not sure, did the committee send you the plans, because I didn't include them in my presentation, but you look at the front elevation.
Yes,
It
I have it in
shows.
front of me.
Okay, the front elevation shows, and I'm going by the plans. It says an existing finished main floor on the left side, and it says new finished main floor ceiling, and then it says new finished second floor, and new finished second floor ceiling. So those are new. So that's where we're approaching. Now, I believe the existing, and I don't have the numbers, are slightly less than that. So I can only go by these plans: existing finished main floor, new finished main floor. Then there's the floor in between, and then there's the new finished second floor, which takes it up to the numbers that you see there on the plans.
So is it safe to assume where it says new finished second floor ceiling and all the news, that that's the same elevation of the existing? It's just the roof itself that's higher? I'm not getting a good idea as to what's going on here
Well,
on the height. And it's obvious I'm not getting a good idea.
Yes, obviously. And I apologize for confusing you, sir, but it says new finished second floor. And to me, that means it's a new finished second floor. So they're changing.
New elevation.
Right, the second
So you're
floor.
lifting up the existing ceiling on the second floor, you're lifting it up.
That's exactly right, sir.
But it only says 9 foot 10 inches. I thought you're talking 11 feet ceiling height on the second floor.
There is a gap of about 1 foot 2 inches in between the main floor ceiling and the second floor. If you see that, there's a 1 foot
I see that.
gap. Yeah.
I wasn't counting that. I was talking floor to ceiling. Sorry. Yeah. You were talking structural ceiling to ceiling, I guess you're. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, let's go again, way, sir, way back. So where it says new, is that the same elevation as the existing? You're going to tear out the floors and lift them up, because how are the windows going to line up?
Well, they will be making those changes, but I apologize again. If you like, we can defer this, and I'd be happy to do so I can get answers for you. We don't mind deferring it, because I wasn't expecting to compare the old with the new. I was looking from it from the perspective of the planning implications in the forecast. But I'm happy if we like to defer it. I will get you more conclusive numbers so you can do a more accurate comparison rather than me trying to provide you information that might not be accurate.
Okay, it's obvious I don't like the height, the yes. resulting height. But my whole purpose of my question is, why are you doing this? And that's where I'm puzzled to see what does the house have now, and why you need that, and why are you raising that roof? I don't care for the idea of your justification just because the house next door has a roof that high. Let's look to the house to the south on the other side of Carlson. I think that's a one-story little old cottage.
Right.
It must be a monster from that point.
I don't mean to cut you off, Mr. Dick. I apologize. But I was trying to communicate that among all the considerations, that was one of them, not the main driving force behind it. We looked at it from the perspective of the visual streetscape appearance, the setbacks that are maintained, and it's not overcrowding the street or anyone in the neighborhood. It's compatible with the character. And I think the planning staff found the same thing. They would have raised the issue of the height. We've had 3 pre-consultation meetings, and that wasn't a prevailing issue. I didn't do the number comparisons. You're absolutely correct. If you like, I'd be more than acceptable to have it deferred, and I can get you those comparisons if it's the numbers that you want. But from an overall planning perspective, and under the test of the Planning Act, we looked at it comprehensively, not just on the mathematical scale.
Okay, before we go any further, because you mentioned this twice, Mr. Cronus, is it your intention to defer this application then?
I'd be prepared to defer so I can get more answers, which the committee, obviously, Mr. Hardcastle, Mr. Dickey desire, and maybe Mr. Tilowski has a similar request.
Mr. Talowski, I saw your hand go up. Do you care to comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we go to a deferral, if that's where it's heading, I'll make a comment on this issue, and then I want to ask a question in a totally different direction, that if this is going to get deferred, that they can look at this as well. It seems like, Mr. Cronus, to answer Mr. Hardcastle's question succinctly as to why, is it appears that instead of a typical 9 or 10 foot first floor, you want a 12-foot first floor, and instead of a typical 9-foot second floor, you want a 10-foot second floor, which is driving everything up. Doesn't seem like from the drawings. I think you kind of addressed it. It says existing floor and everything else is proposed. So I think all the heights are being raised. But in a different direction, Mr. Cronus, you mentioned changes to the Planning Act 299-19. While they've both been with us for a while, their implementation is in their infancy. And I know you always have a very good grasp of legislation. When I look at your plan and I look at the zoning bylaw, in my mind, what you're proposing meets the definition of apartment dwellings, 3 or more units connected by a common corridor. And apartment units aren't permitted in the RL3 zone. So is there a provision in the regulation or special provisions under additional units in the zoning bylaw that exempts additional units from the actual definition of the use? Because I'm not convinced, if there isn't, that this complies with the zoning bylaw. Like, why are these not considered apartment dwellings?
I had that discussion with staff before the ARUs were even out, and there is no definition for an apartment dwelling. I believe they took it out. It appears in one section of the bylaw, but it's not used anywhere else. But if you go to the definition on page 12 of my presentation of what an additional residential unit is attached, it meets the definition, and this is how planning staff and the building department, we've had 2 zoning reviews on this. You know, I don't know if anyone's here from staff, they can answer that as well. But on page 12 of my PowerPoint presentation, you'll see what the definition is, and I can read it out. It means 1 or more habitable rooms containing separate kitchen and bathroom facilities for private use as a single housekeeping unit, which is contained within a detached dwelling, semi-detached dwelling, linked dwelling, or townhouse dwelling already containing a dwelling unit. So that's what the definition is, and these qualify for the ARUs. They qualify under the legislation. They qualify under the act. They qualify under the Town of Oakville zoning bylaw. It is not an apartment, 3 apartment units. These are additional. You got a principal dwelling plus 2 additional residential units.
But is that the only test you have to meet? Because there is a definition in the zoning bylaw of a dwelling apartment, and it's
yes there is, but this is not a dwelling apartment. Dwelling apartment is I don't have a definition with me, but this definition, as you heard in your last go around with 299-19, comes right from, it mimics the definition contained in the regulation and in the legislation. So the whole intent was to have, you also have granny suites as well, right, which are different. But the intent was to provide for additional housing opportunities through residential units that are separately serviced. You heard that too the last time. These have to have separately serviced capabilities.
right, and I understand that, but I guess what I'm trying to understand, and I'll ask Ms. Colburn as well, it's very clear that the zoning provisions governing coverage and floor area ratio are overridden by the provincial regulation. But I don't see where specifically it overrides the definition. And I just want to make sure that we're not being asked to approve something that's going to come back again because the actual permit is deemed that this is an apartment, which isn't permitted in this zone. There is a definition, and it includes 3 or more units connected by a common corridor, which when I look at your site plan, I believe that's what you have. And dwelling apartments not listed in the RL zone as a permitted use. It is listed in the RM zones. So I understand there's a definition of additional units. I need to be satisfied that that definition overrides the zoning bylaw definition of an apartment unit. Maybe I can ask Ms. Coburn the same question.
Madam Chair, through to the committee member. So what the committee needs to consider is that the governing tool for the purposes of establishing additional residential units is Ontario Regulation 29919. That does not specify, as far as the town is concerned, and my understanding from our zoning examiners and their review of the bylaw and implementing the ARU requirements, the 29919 does not specify a specific condition to which the additional residential units are to be subordinate or accessory to a principal dwelling. It does not specify whether or not those additional residential units shall be located below grade or in a certain arrangement. So the effect of that is the zoning bylaw has the definition for additional residential unit, which then is governed by 29919, in the idea that these units can be accommodated within a detached dwelling, a semi-detached dwelling, or a townhouse dwelling unit in any arrangement and in any size, with the door located in any facade, and then speaks to specific parking requirements for those additional units. It is because of that the units themselves could be considered a triplex or a multiplex or an apartment, exactly as you've described it. But the expectation is in this instance, they are additional dwelling units under 29919. So I will comment that currently, if we recognize that this is a detached dwelling and there are 2 ARUs within this dwelling, that satisfies the requirements of 29919. I may suggest to you that under the current definitions on our bylaw, this might be different in other jurisdictions, but under the zoning bylaw, as we have confirmed with town zoning staff, if Mr. Cronus' client chose to submit an application for a condominium to change the tenure of the units, they no longer become additional dwelling units to that detached dwelling. They would become independent units, thereby then not qualifying under 29919, and then would qualify, as you've indicated, as an apartment unit. And it would be through that tenure application that the bylaws, different definitions for units would then be activated for us to evaluate the building type. As it remains right now, this is a detached dwelling with 2 additional ARUs, conforms to OREG 29919, and the applicant is requesting relief from the aspects of the bylaw that do not get regulated under 29919, being the height, being the driveway widths, and the other matters that have been requested. I hope that that provides some level of clarity in a very confusing policy regime.
Well, thank you. It's helpful. And I have no issue with understanding that this complies with 29919. What I don't think I have a clear answer on is, does it comply with the Town of Oakville zoning bylaw as it's currently written with respect to these units would be deemed apartment units, apartment dwellings under the zoning bylaw, and therefore not permitted use in this zone? Does 299 override that definition?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, it does override that definition. These are two additional dwelling units connected to a single detached dwelling structure. They're all within one structure. That is how they are permitted in 219, and that is how it is being defined.
Then why doesn't 19 exempt the permitted uses the way it exempts the coverage and floor area ratio? Is that like, is this in the provincial requirements? Is this an interpretation that of the town? It doesn't make sense to me that we're being asked to permit variances which will allow units which appear to not meet the town of Oakville zoning bylaw.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the committee member, if the committee may recall, prior to the legislative changes that occurred, the town of Oakville zoning bylaw had uses called secondary dwelling units or secondary suites, and we had criteria and policies. Those had been restricted to a certain amount of floor area. It was indicated they were to be subordinate to the principal use of the dwelling. There were regulations in the bylaw that spoke to maintaining an access only on the side yard or in the rear rather than in the front yard, because they were intended to be subordinate. When the policy regime changed, and it's undergone a couple of changes. The first iteration was, we're going to provide 3 units as of right per urban parcel of land within specific dwelling types. These can be purpose-built, which in this case, Mr. Cronus's client is looking to do just that, renovate the existing dwelling for purposely built units, 2-story units and basement. These can be modifying an existing basement to accommodate 1 or 2 units, or again, modifying an existing detached structure or purpose building a detached structure to have one of these units. There was a later, and again, removed all of these criteria that the town had implemented on size and and language around being subordinate or accessory to, removed any language that limited its presence on the street, right? So you can have the door, you can have a common vestibule. It did not change the definition of the building type to an apartment or to a multiplex. It said that you have this building and you can have these 2 uses. It is the subsequent change and further amendment to 299-19 that introduced the lot coverage and the residential floor area matters. That came separately, and if I recall correctly, about a year later. So we've had the working policies of ARUs for a couple years, and then more recently the province made the change again to better promote the opportunity to construct these ARUs as of right, giving flexibility beyond municipal bylaws with respect to coverage or floor area, where those regulations would have existed in those municipal bylaws. So everything that we're seeing today in this proposal is compliant with the town of Oakville zoning bylaw, save and except the matters being presented for your decision. That is the situation we are left with today. And that's the best clarity I can give you. Should this matter be deferred, we can definitely follow up with additional comments and get you some additional clarity if needed.
Okay.
There's not much more I can add, Mr. Talowski. If I may, I apologize if I interrupted you, but this has gone through 2 zoning reviews through the building department, which is a little bit unusual, but we did have pre-consultation meetings, and if that use issue was a matter of concern, it would have been raised. But I echo what Ms. Colbert said, that the province has made these changes to promote these ARUs, much like the one that you had at the last meeting. You know, I suppose the same questions would arise in that one as well, but it's not a zoning issue because of the way the province has structured the legislation and the regulation.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I guess I'm just struggling with determining that this meets the zoning bylaw without something in writing that says the additional dwelling unit regulations requirements override an existing definition and permitted use in the town of Oakville zoning bylaw. So if this does get deferred, I would appreciate seeing some more work done on this issue to help convince me. Maybe it's just me, but this is what I'm struggling with. When I read the definition, I don't think it complies, and I don't see anything that says it's exempt from the definition. So that's where I need some help. Thank you.
I had made the same observation early on in the application process, but Mr. Tulowski, I think you're going to be getting more of these. And if we can help both yourself and the entire committee understand the intricacies of how these things are related to, I don't mind the deferral because it is quite new, and you will be receiving more. And if we can help you and the committee, by all means, that's a benefit to everyone.
Okay, well, given everyone's comments, I think that we should move a deferral rather than take more time circling around. If that's what you choose, Mr. Combs, because ultimately it is your call.
Well, I believe I'd like to provide Mr. Dickey and Mr. Hardcastle on the balance of the committee the why extra height. I think that's important to address with more details, and also to get Mr. Tulowski and the balance of the committee an answer on this relationship between the apartment unit definition and the ARUs. I think you're going to be struggling with that, so we might as well just get an answer right now. So I will request a deferral if the committee is acceptable to that.
Okay. Committee members, all those in support of a deferral? Yeah. Okay. So the application has been deferred, and we'll see you at your earliest convenience.
Thank you, and to town staff for those answers. Appreciate
it.
And
I will just mention that since the discussion did not go any further, and we've chosen to defer the application, any letters of opposition from the neighbors on file that we have right now, the neighbors will get a chance to be heard when the file does come back before the committee. Mr. Cronus, you are aware of those letters of opposition, so you can reach out to the neighbors and.
Yes, I've been provided with one, but if there's others, I will get them through the Secretary Treasurer. Thank you.
I believe it is one. They just requested to attend as well tonight. So I'm just letting them know on live that they will be heard that at the time that the application does come before the committee again and is heard at that time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Okay. Application 039 of 2026 at 1275 North Service Road West. Again, that's application 039 of 2026 at 1275 North Service Road West. I have Mr. Oz Kamal as the agent.
Good evening.
Go ahead, Mr. Kamal.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Good evening, members of committee. My name is Oz Kamal. I'm a partner at MHBC Planning. Here on today on behalf of our client, Ennis Clear Corporation Center, Inc., for their property at 1275 North Service Road. This minor variance is associated with an application for site plan approval that was originally submitted to the town back in December of 2024, with subsequent submissions made in August of 25 and most recently January 26. Comments from the town zoning department confirmed the required variance to the maximum setback from the front yard, and confirmed that we comply with all other provisions of the bylaw. As such, we've submitted the application requesting to vary the maximum front yard setback regulation for the office employment zone. Next slide, please. So the subject lands are located on the north side of North Service Road and Highway 403, east of Third Line. You can see this is part of a comprehensive employment area that consists of existing motor vehicle uses along North Service Road. You can see there's an Acura, Mazda, Lexus, Audi, Volkswagen, as well as the newly constructed Grand Touring Automobiles Oakville site, which is in that aqua blue color. We're located directly beside it. The overall lands are shown in the red border, and the area of development is in the dashed red border. So we're proposing a 2-story motor vehicle dealership. It will be a new Genesis dealership. You've probably seen it, Genesis by Superfan. This will be a new 2-story Genesis dealership, and through that application process, this variance was raised. Next slide, please. This is a zoom in of that previous slide to give you a better understanding of why we're asking for this variance. So the subject lands as well as the adjacent dealership are within an E1 zone, which requires a minimum front yard of 3 meters and a maximum front yard of 17.5 meters. And that 3 meter and 17.5 meter setback line is shown in yellow across the red property. Due to the subject land's proximity to Highway 403, though, the Ministry of Transportation adds an additional minimum 14-meter setback from the property line, and that's shown in the black dashed line, the thick black dashed line. So what happens now is instead of having the buffer of 3 meters to 17.5 meters, you now have the buffer of 17.5 meters to 14 meters, and it creates a very narrow pinch point by which you can locate your building. So what's happened now is we're requesting this variance because when you factor in that everything has to be outside of the 14-meter setback that's required, we wanted to make sure that we were able to maintain a 6-meter fire route. And then we wanted to make sure that we were able to maintain accessible parking spaces along the front door, which is facing North Service Road. And so that those items requiring us to have the drive aisle, plus the accessible parking, plus the enhanced walkway in the front of the building necessitated the variance to go from 17.5 meters to 32 meters. Again, this is similar to a minor variance application that the Grand Touring Automobile dealership, again shown in blue there, that they had also needed as well because of that pinch point created by the MTO setback. Next slide, please. So this is just a site plan showing the existing, and this is, again, if you're driving along the 403 heading east towards Oakville from Burlington, you'll notice that there used to be, I think it used to say Travelers across the top. It was an 8-story office building. That's shown on the north of the page. And then we would be at the south of the page there with the new dealership. All other provisions of the bylaw are being met. And we're at the tail end of the site plan approval. We've got our clearance from the Conservation Authority. MTO has given us our clearance as well because they like that we've moved all of the requirements outside of their 14-meter setback. And this variance is just a necessity to close out the site plan approval. Staff are supportive of the application subject to the conditions which we're agreeing to. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kamal. Any questions or items of clarification? I see none. Has anyone called with any interest in this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
We've had no calls and no hands showing.
Very well, then I'll take a motion. Go ahead, Ms. Price. Again.
Taking into account my site visit, the reports provided by the agent, staff, and Conservation Halton, and there be no letters of opposition, I believe the application to be minor in nature and in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. It is desirable for the appropriate development of the land. In conclusion, I recommend the application be approved subject to the following conditions: that the motor vehicle dealership be constructed in accordance with the final approved site plan, SP 1523-006/01, to the satisfaction of the Director of Planning and Development, that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Thank you, Ms. Price. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Okay, the last item on our agenda is application 041 of 2026 at 599 Chartwell Road. Again, that's application 41 of 2026 at 599 Chartwell Road. This is an application under section 45.2 of the Planning Act. I just would like to point your attention to that. And we have Mr. Rick Metaljan and Nancy Friday as the agents. Who will be speaking to this application, Mr. Metaljan or Ms. Friday?
Well, it was going to be the architect. I don't see him in the hearing right now. Is he there? No, I don't believe he is.
Yes, he is. He's present.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he can't hear us. Mr. Metaljan, are you with us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm here now. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, so I'm Rick Metaljan from SMDA Architects. We are the architects for Support House at 599 Chartwell Road. We've been working on this project for quite some time. And in fact, we're before the committee just under 2 years ago. When we came to this project, our scope was that we were going to take this existing building, which functions as a transitional housing building, and has for some time, for a generation really, at this site, giving support to people who are experiencing either mental health crises, homelessness, addiction issues, that sort of thing, and they support their clients and offer them transitional housing while they move on and graduate to more long-term housing. So they provide a very, very necessary benefit to the community. So our scope in the first place, when we were before the committee a couple of years ago, was that we were taking this existing building, which is it's an existing vintage single-family home that's been added to and changed over several iterations. And our scope at that point was to look at the fire safety issues, create some barrier-free opportunities, and create some additional interior space and a couple of extra bedrooms. We were before the committee, and the committee granted us approval for those changes. As time has gone on and as additional funding has become available through the region, the scope has increased somewhat, and we are now increasing the number of bedrooms. We're proposing to add 9 bedrooms to the building, and we're proposing more community space for the residents, and also even better opportunities for elevator and for barrier-free access and for fire safety. We're creating a whole new fire stair on the south side. That's the kind of black square that you see on the right hand side of the drawing there. And we're also adding additional space to the third story. So we're before you today to ask for permission to extend the existing non-conforming use. We've had significant discussions with staff. Staff are supportive of this. There's no question that this is something that's urgently needed in the community, and to our knowledge, there's no concerns from the community from the standpoint of the expansion of this. So I'd be happy to answer any further questions about this. And as I began to mention before, and she was on screen for a second, our planner, Ms. Friday, is here, and she can answer any planning related questions. So I'd be happy to turn it over now to her or to the committee for their questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the architect or the planner at this point? Okay, I see none. Has anyone called with interest for this application, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
We've had no calls and no hands.
Okay, very well. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Talowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move that this application be approved as applied for. While larger, I find it to be similar in nature to the existing use. I would make that approval subject to two conditions: that the addition be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan and elevation drawings dated November 5th, 2025, and that the approval expires within 2 years of decision if a building permit has not been issued. And I would also note that there was no opposition from the community in this matter.
Okay, is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, the application has been approved, none opposed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Confirmation of the minutes for March 4th. Who would like to move those minutes? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. And motion to adjourn. Ms. Price, thank you.